You learn something new every day, and for Hugh Freeze, the head coach at Auburn, he learned today that Kirby Smart was successful faster than he thought at Georgia, something that Auburn fans were acutely aware of in 2017. Here's what Hugh had to say today. He said, I don't know how long it took Kirby. What did it take him? 3 years or so to get there? 4 years? Some of y'all could do the research, which someone then immediately in the crowd said it took him 2 years to play in the national championship game, to which Hugh Freeze responded, his second year? Whew. I don't know if that is accurate, but that's anyway, to which it was, that is accurate. He did it pretty fast. That's even more impressive. The pressure of being Hugh Freeze. So it's a different ball game at Auburn than it is at Ole Miss. I think a lot of people know that. And this is not a video to run Hugh Freeze down. There's no point of that. I think he's done before he got in all sorts of trouble for his, and it was all his fault. At Ole Miss, he certainly was doing a lot of good at Ole Miss in terms of on the field. But to not know that Kirby Smart, someone that Hugh Freeze I think knows relatively well, generally speaking, he certainly knows a lot about this league, and was that was the year that Hugh Freeze was dismissed from Ole Miss, just like in the middle of the whole thing. I mean, that was crazy. But he gotten them to the Peach Bowl, had gotten them to the Sugar Bowl. They won the Sugar Bowl in 15. They beat the absolute snot out of Georgia in 16. That was Kirby's third game. He going up against a really hot Ole Miss team that day on a hot day. But then later, I don't know, 15 games later, maybe just 12 games later, something like that. No, it's more than that. Georgia, played Auburn in the SEC championship game in 2017 with the spot on the college football playoff on the line, and Georgia dominated the Tigers on the way to a Rose Bowl bid. And Auburn folks have not forgotten that. That's why you saw the correction during the press conference. And it says two things to me. First of all, a couple of things actually. It says, some of these coaches, I don't mean it bad, but their heads are totally in the sand. They're not looking at anything besides their program. And Hugh was going through a lot at that moment. I will add that. He definitely was going through a lot at that moment, being dismissed at Ole Miss. B, Kirby's been at it so long at Georgia, I think people do forget how quick he had success. I mean, 2016 was rough for the Dogs and for Kirby and so forth, but they had a lot of success quickly. I mean, they played for the national championship in 2017, came a play away from winning the national championship against Alabama, a team that Hugh Freeze did pretty well against, to be honest with you, while he was at Ole Miss. And then just because of what Georgia's become, I think people forget how challenging that first year was. Year two, Georgia took off. I mean, it was quick, and there was a lot of negativity after Jacob Eason got hurt against App State. But with Georgia going and digging it out against Notre Dame on the road, I don't know. There were a lot of little points along the way. On the field, Notre Dame was certainly a big deal, but I think a couple weeks later against Mississippi State was just as big a deal too. So this Georgia program is going to head into Auburn about anywhere from a 2-touchdown to a 17-point favorite. It depends on where you got the line. It's going to be a very big deal, and I think Georgia's hoping to play for another national championship this season. We'll see if that happens. Our buddies at EcoPoly, you're seeing this rocker, and you can get this in a lot of different colors. It's just what we're featuring right now. You can get it in red and black. You can get it in gray and red. You can get it in white and black. I mean, there's no shortage of colors. You can run over to EcoPoly. Actually, the website is down below. You can get 15% off and free shipping. Hugh Freeze needs one of these in his office. I'm sure Kirby already has one, but whatever. They quality products made in the heart of Georgia and Eastman. That is certainly heart of Georgia is definitely where Auburn and Georgia have through the years fought for players. Guys like Montrevious Adams comes to mind immediately through that area of the heart of Georgia, and so that's where this is manufactured. from step one to completion. So 20-year warranty. Make sure you're taking advantage of it. It's an awesome offer. It's you do learn something new every day, or at least you should, in theory. I'm a little bit. I know that Nick Saban. I mean, I cover the sports, so maybe I remember things better. I probably do, but I know Nick didn't play for the national championship in his second season at Alabama. He played for it in his third and won it in his third. So even Alabama, I think with Nick and Kirby, they were very similar trajectories. If you think about that '09 season, the '08 season for Alabama, if they were a playoff, they'd have been in the playoff. So they just lost in the SEC championship game to Florida. But had there been a playoff, they would have almost certainly been in it. And then a year later, they go 13-0 at a game, the national championship. At 13, they go 14-0 probably to win the national championship against Texas at the Rose Bowl. It was not the Rose Bowl game, so that's confusing. But yeah, I mean Auburn's. The curious thing here is, the question is, has Auburn hit it right with Hugh Freeze at the right time, or is this not going to work? So what I mean by that is, the entire time Gus Malzahn, not the entire time, the entire last 7 years that Gus Malzahn and Brian Harsin were at Auburn, you had the two-headed monster that was Alabama winning the national championships and then Georgia. That's really challenging when your two biggest rivals. And Auburn certainly with LSU, that's a rivalry game. But and then they have big games against Mississippi, Arkansas. Those are, but they're rivals. They're two traditional rivals, Georgia and Bama. For those two teams to win national championships at the clip they have since Auburn won their most recent one, which was in 10. It's been a lot of banners hung up in Athens and Tuscaloosa in that time. And, Auburn's played for it twice since 2010, but you cannot compare those two programs to Auburn because it's not the same. And that's what they're hoping right now is that at Auburn is that Hugh Freeze will come in, point them in the right direction, because they were not pointing in the right direction under Brian Harsin. That was not well done. That was nothing about that was a match. And you saw a lot of knives out really quick at Auburn for Brian Harsin. I'd be remiss not to mention this. We really want y'all to sign up for our newsletter. I'm going to put that link down below too. You're missing out. This is a great audience. We know y'all. Y'all know us. We talk to you all the time. Don't miss out on all the other content we do. It's not all premium. There's a lot of articles that you're missing out on over at Dawg Post. And I'm going to put the link down below. So make sure that you are signing up for the Dawg Post newsletter. You need to have that in your life. I don't know if this will work for Auburn. I don't know. I think it will be better than Brian Harsin, but I'm not sure that's a massive move up. I don't know. So it's gonna be better than Brian Harsin, I think. But getting around Georgia, getting around Alabama, I don't know, man. It is hard. Auburn is one of the toughest jobs in the country. There are a lot of resources. You have a lot of money at Auburn, comparatively speaking to the national schools surrounding them. If you compare Auburn to Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Clemson, Auburn has as much or more than all of those. I think they have more than everyone I just mentioned. The only one I would wonder about would be Clemson. I mean, Auburn's in a way better financial position than Florida State. So there's a lot right with Auburn, but there is no state of Auburn. And I think this hurts Clemson sometimes too. People might not know where Auburn is. And the truth is, those of us who are, have been around the ballgame for a while, and those of you watching, where Auburn is. Where is it? It's right on the border. It's not so far from Columbus, but it's in Alabama. But I don't know if people know that. I mean, if you live in Utah, do you know where Auburn is? So that matters a little, not a lot. But their biggest problem is, the people that are surrounding them are really good right now, and that's Georgia, Bama, and now Florida State. Florida State and Auburn definitely are in the same, world in terms of recruiting, and it's hard for them both to be good at the same time. 2013 was odd, in that they were both really good at the same time. But if you look before and after that, Auburn just wasn't good. You look before and after 2010, Auburn just wasn't good. So, today with Hugh saying I'm recording this Monday, so you're watching this Tuesday, but with what Hugh said, it is shocking that Kirby did it that quick. In the moment, it didn't feel that way because they were just running through everybody. And they did not play well at Auburn that day and got trucked. But they made up for it in Atlanta and trucked Auburn by about the same point total. And in a decisive victory that really mattered. Hugh Freeze is going to have to find his way at Auburn. I don't know if he will. Saturday will be a glimpse into the future. We'll just see how this game goes.